achieve them further along.
And it's a great pleasure to stand up here and look at all of you here, and it reminds me of the garden that Bahá'u'lláh and Abdu'l Bahá talked about. And I'd like to read you just a little excerpt from Abdu'l Bahá about that garden. That at the gate of the garden some stand and look within, but do not care to enter. Others step inside, behold its beauty, but do not penetrate far. Still others encircle this garden, inhaling the fragrance of the flowers. Having enjoyed its full beauty, pass out again by the same gate. But there are always some who enter and become intoxicated with the splendor of what they behold, remain for life to tend the garden. We as Baha'is are all a part of this garden. And it seems to me, though, that we are having a great benefit here to have the hands of the cause with us to give us inspiration and guidance of what our part is in tending this garden. If we have knowledge of what our part is, we can do such a marvelous job in doing what we should do to make this garden grow and blossom. And now it gives me great pleasure to present to you our Reverend Hand of the Cause, Mr. Faizi.
Please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed for all your love and consideration. I must tell you this story before we start our lesson this afternoon. The daughter of the Prophet Muhammad one day went to her glorious father, the Prophet, and said, "Father, they have invited me to a wedding, but I have not suitable dress for this occasion. I have only a piece of white cloth on me." The Prophet said, "Go as you are to the wedding." And she obeyed. She came back very much surprised and said, "Father, people were there of the highest ranks of the Arab families, and they had all sorts of gold and diamond and everything on them, but the whole audience congregated around me, and they were watching me. I'm surprised I didn't have anything on." The Prophet said, "The moment you went into the meeting, God, in His great mercy to the Prophet and his family, covered you with the most beautiful dresses of His paradise. And because you were not conscious of it, the people came and watched you. Please pray for all the people who will be receiving so much love and kindness from the friends that they will never be conscious of themselves. They'll be conscious of the grace of God, which has covered all of us without any distinction." Today, we are speaking about education of children, one of the most beautiful subjects in the history of man, but never so completely described by any prophet. Many of the things that I will tell you, you may be disappointed at the beginning, but please accept them because they are words of God. Why do I emphasize so much on words of God? Standard is the most important factor of our life. Without standard, the slightest transaction will never take place in the whole world. What do I mean by a standard? Suppose there is a carpet here. I want to buy it from one of you who is the owner of this carpet. I measure it with my own hand. Measure it like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I say it's 4 meters by 3. The owner comes and measures it by his or her own hand, and will say, no, it is 5 meters by 3. Each one of us is correct, because each one is measuring according to his standard. Now, to the day of resurrection, if we both start to argue and quarrel about it, the bargain will never be finished, because both of us are standing according to our standard. At this moment, a wise man will come and will give 2 or 3 cents to a child and says, please go to the stationery and buy a wooden ruler. A ruler will be brought. A ruler so weak and fragile that if you bend it like this, it will break immediately, will keep 2 human beings absolutely satisfied and quiet. When you place it on the carpet, whatever this mute instrument says, we both accept. This is what I mean by standard. Why? We both accept it. We both accept because the government had placed numbers at the edge. This little piece of wood has the authority of the government behind it. Now, when I say this is the word of God, this is the word of Bahá'u'lláh, a very weak person in life, because the moment he declared, they put him into prison. Physically, he had no power to say no. But now he proved that whatever he says is the word of God. Therefore, the ruler that he gives us has the seal and the authority of God. Yesterday, I give you the example of this microphone. I said, if we use this in any way we like, this will be out of order within half an hour. But if we work with this according to the instructions that the maker of it has given us, this will work properly. God creates these beautiful things in the name of children. They give us the best gifts of heaven. And then we want to train them in any way we like. It's wrong. You will lead the child into a wilderness of bewilderment and loss. God says this way. God describes the children in this way, defines it in this way. He says, when a child is born into any family, that child is a treasure house of God given to that family as a gift. You are the guardian of this treasure house of God. Baha'u'lláh says, in this treasure house, God has deposited jewels and precious stones. By this he means he has deposited talents, capacities, intellects, potentialities, and other things. The family, school, and environment must try to explore the child. First, we must know that this is a treasure house full of precious stones. Second, explore. Third, discover what are the jewels given to the child. Then polish these jewels. bring them out of the mind, polish them from extra materials. And after that, let the whole humanity benefit by them. Even the children who are born in one family, from one father and mother, do not resemble each other. Each one has a destiny by itself. Each one is a separate treasure house of God. And each one has separate jewels, potentialities, and precious stones. Baha'u'lláh says, by proper education, you will discover these pearls of the gift of God. By proper education, you will find a power by which you will dig the inner life of an individual and find its perfections and drive that individual towards perfection. Then he says that we take point by point. First part is the definition of children, which is finished now. Second, he says education can be done in two ways. First, by your own deeds and examples. And second, by words. The greatest factor, he says, is education by deeds. The influence of deeds is greater than words. In Islam, there is a poem written by Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet Muhammad. I wish I could read in Arabic for those who desire to study Arabic. There are some individuals here. I'm very glad. He says, do you think, he addresses man, do you think that you are a small atom? You are wrong. The whole world is mysteriously placed in you. In the secret of man, you will find the whole world. Now, the beginning of education, the beginning of the time when we gather children together, according to Abdu'l Bahá, is at the age of 5. Please remember, let's always, all of us remember, that the children have peculiar power to understand things and to get addicted to certain behavior of father and mother. First, they get addicted to the perfume of father and mother. That's why they don't want to go to other people's arms. The other people seem to them stranger. Leave a child one day at home and go for a picnic. When you come back, that child of yours will feel strangers toward you. And he doesn't like it. He feels sad. He cannot explain. Therefore, I have seen many people at the age of 2 or 3, they sent out children to a certain place to be gathered in a small room and be kept busy by some teachers, away from the house. This breaks their heart. From the very beginning, they sense, and perhaps they feel that they are not wanted in the house. They can't say it. Therefore, Abdu'l Bahá says, the feelings, the hearts of children must be saturated with the love of parents. Keep them with you for 5 years at home. Invite other children to play, for playing as guests to other places, accompanied by one of you, by a member of the family. Then the child will not feel stranger. But if you send him or her alone to a far place, the child feels something strange in the deed and act of the parents and will be very sad. These little sadnesses will change the nature of children. In future, they'll grow into something else. They'll grow into prejudice, into grudge, into hatred and other things. And then Abdu'l Bahá says, when you gather them together, you must teach them 3 things. Politeness, manners, and love. He doesn't say teach them A, B, C, D to start reading. No, the most essential thing is this, that the children will learn to be polite with each other, to have a certain manners, and to love each other. It's very, very difficult when you have a large group of children to deal with them. I've tried it myself many, many times, all along my life. And I found it extremely difficult. But if you are patient, you don't get nervous, irritated by their deeds. You just go on patiently with them. The result, the fruits will suddenly appear, and that will be the eternal delight of your hearts. I remember in one of the places, we brought a ball for about 10 children to play with, about 3 or 4. The first thing which happened, one of the girls came, picked up the ball, went to a corner, started to scream, and said, "This is mine." Nobody could even approach her, and how much less the ball. Well, we were bewildered what to do with other children who were there. We sent somebody to the market immediately to bring another one. And the other children, not all of them, some of them started some sort of game with each other. It took that girl 1 month to come nearer to this group. But we left her alone. We said, "All right, the ball is yours. Play in any way you like." But gradually, there was a mysterious force which brought this girl to the other children and played very normally. In Arabic, man is called insan. Insan means gregarious, a being who loves to be with others. He doesn't want to be alone. And that's why Abdu'l Bahá says, bring them together and teach them these things, because they come together. If they don't have love, politeness, and manners, their society will be spoiled from the very beginning. We don't have still a universal system of manners in the Baha'i faith. But we have the rules of politeness. We have the rule of love, which is equal everywhere. But the manners, of course, gradually will be settled in our lives. Therefore, please try to teach the children these 3 things. It's very hard, but it's worthwhile trying. In future, all these things will be put in action in the most practical way. You know, please, when we read these things about Baha'i education or Baha'i life and other things, many of us will think it's not practical. It's true, because we are living at the end of ages. We are living at the time when the present Western civilization is decaying and is going towards death, complete death. And the stinking smell of decay has covered all the world over. We will be contaminated by this smell. Therefore, our function and our responsibility as parents becomes harder and harder day by day to protect the children against this environment. As I said the other day, like sending the children in the frozen air of Finland, how they cover them, how they take care of their physical health, the same thing must be done about their spiritual health. We must do our best, and gradually you will see that the whole world will turn to this system of education. Abdu'l Bahá pays very much attention to education rather than instruction. Instruction is the transfer of knowledge from a person to another person. Somebody knows physics properly, is a specialist in that subject, he transfers his knowledge to his students. Another one in mathematics. And this is easy. They can transfer many of these things to animals. Or animals know many of these things just by instinct, the things which we do not know. Suppose there is a very appetizing cake here. None of us will know, but the ants will know. They'll smell and will make a line and go directly to its place. Abdu'l Bahá says, if you abandon a dog in the middle of Asia, take it from Holy Land to the middle of Asia, abandon the dog. The dog will directly come back to the Holy Land. So intelligent. When I was in Africa amongst a group of friends, they told me many stories about their life, and it's very, very interesting to go there and gather their stories. They said there is a bird who comes on a very specific day of the year. For example, 22nd of June. He comes to a certain tree and hits the tree by its beak. Some of us should immediately go under the tree and stand ready to walk. It starts to fly, and we must walk under the path that he takes. Then they say they go suddenly to a very huge tree somewhere in the forest and start to hit this part. That's like this. And then he sits on the ground. The boys must go and take the cover of the tree. Underneath is a treasure house of honey. This part must be given to the bird immediately. If not, the year after that, the bird will not come. It will go to another tribe who are more grateful. Well, such things can never be expected from man, to know what is inside the tree in their own garden. But these birds have this sense. Therefore, to learn these things is not an honor. To be educated is an honor. Education will bring that which is hidden in the children. And then, after they gather them at the age of 5 in a certain place, he says, after you teach them manners, politeness, and love, start to teach them to read and write, not with great many difficulties, not with anger, not with pressure. Let this come out by the children themselves. For example, how many children had suffered because they wrote by left-hand hand? And the parents started to beat them, but they didn't know that it's the nature of the boy, born to work with one hand or both hands. The beloved guardian could use both hands. With one hand he wrote, with the other hand, whenever he wanted to sharpen a pen or to peel an apple, was with the left hand. And therefore, such the growth in the children, such manifestation of that which is hidden in the children should not be controlled by our own desires. We must direct them, always direct them. You will be surprised what the master says. The result of this, he says, will be when they are small, encourage them to stand and speak. Encourage them to stand and speak. Direct them to give speeches full of meaning with beautiful words. Eloquent speeches from childhood. Can you guess what is the benefit of such treatment, such training? All that is hidden in the child, in the form of grudges, hatred, or some desires, even love, the child will find the chance to stand here and pour it out. Always the system of the child will be clean, will gather more beautiful things from the world, and will pour out whatever he has. Suppose he doesn't like the dog of his neighbor. He speaks about it. Then the teacher will direct the child about loving animals. And then he says, we must give them divine education. By divine education means moderate their manners and their life, to bring it to the true path of life. Encourage them whenever they do something good. Please remember, not flattering, not telling the child you are the best child of the whole country. Our neighbor's child is not like you. This destroys the children all together. It creates a certain competition amongst the children which is not healthy. Just encourage. And if they do something wrong, this is very important. Please, all of us remember. He never says beat the child. On the contrary, he says it's absolutely forbidden to beat the child. No hitting and no beating. He says awaken the child. If he does something wrong, awaken the child. Make him understand that this was wrong. By beautiful words, by examples, by kindness, by love, whatever manner you have. Suppose the child breaks this, and I beat him with a piece of wood 10 times. Will this be all right again? Now we have two things broken, the vase and the child. And please don't ask me about spanking. I don't know why the American friends are so much interested in spanking. Well, if it is beating, don't do it. If it is not, do it. But see what's the result of it. I have given the story that I heard from one of the old believers in Haifa. Dear Collis knows him, Ahmed, who was taking care of Abud's house. He was so big, great in size, that Roy Khanum called him Ahmed Gonde, means Ahmed the Big. But he was just like a child. He said, when I was a child, I used to play a certain game of gambling in the streets with other children of our neighborhood. I'll explain it to you, but I'm not teaching a new way of gambling, please. He said we would gather together 5 or 6 children. We drew a circle in the middle of the lane. Each one would place 1 coin in the middle. And we would go at a certain distance and aim at the coins. Whoever could send out 1 coin out of the circle, the coin would be his. And within half an hour, some would be bankrupted and others would be rich. And the whole day, he said, we were against each other, we didn't like each other, and we were sad because we didn't have any more money. And the others would enjoy, and another day would be their turn. One day I was sitting and aiming like this. Suddenly I felt something in here. What do you call this? Here. Yeah. And I looked here and found the beloved master standing with a little pebble in his hand and doing this to his ear. And he pulled him up. He stood up and walked with the master till they reached the house of Abu. He says, on the way I was expecting that the master would give me a sermon or would curse me, would use harsh words. No, I was expecting more and more, and he was quiet. We reached the house. We went into his coffee house, where there was a man who always made tea or coffee for the master. At the moment we entered the coffee house, he let me go. And then said, Ahmad, please come in. We sat down, and he told to the man, Ismail Agha, the one who made tea and coffee for the master, said, Ismail Agha, this Ahmad is a very We reached the house. We went into his coffee house, where there was a man who always made tea or coffee for the master. At the moment we entered the coffee house, he let me go. And then said, Ahmad, please come in. We sat down, and he told to the man, Ismail Agha, the one who made tea and coffee for the master, said, Ismail Agha, this Ahmad is a very good boy. I would like to have a cup of tea with him. And he said, I still was waiting for some reproaching words, but he never did. We had tea, and he spoke to Ismail Agha about other things. I heard his beautiful words, and after half an hour said, Ahmad, now it's time for you to go home, it's late. Now, when they reached the door, the beloved master told Ismail Agha, please give him one majidi. One majidi was a big coin like this in the days of Turks. It cost at least $3. Do you know what he said? He said he needs it because he had lost his money on it. Yes. And the majidi was given to this boy, went home, and no word was said. But what was the result? He said, the day after that, that desire, that longing of going and playing was taken from him. Absolutely. Now, I am sure if he had been beaten, or if the parents had used some harsh words to him, he would go again. But this taking easy and bringing out the good part of the child, and let that good part, that beautiful spirit, overwhelm the child, is the best remedy. That's what he means by awakening the child to the mistake that he had committed. And then he says, bring them up in such a manner as the perfume of the love of God will influence their whole existence. What does it mean? When we plant a tree, the tree must be exhibited to the sunshine and to the breezes which come to them. It means always place the child in such a position that he feels the love of God is doing everything for him, and the breeze of the merciful is refreshing him. This will be done by, again, two things. One is the life of the parents in the house, and second is the beautiful stories of the early believers which will be said in the house. Let the children play over there, but the father and mother sitting here, having tea, conversation, say to each other about the early believers. This will create a beautiful atmosphere in the house. In this condition, he says, the children will become like fresh stems which are planted in the garden of God. They will grow with the perfections of God. Educate the branches of the tree as long as they are fresh. You can straighten them. You can stretch them to any side you like, but the moment they pass through that stage, education will be impossible. If you have been in France, in Paris, and if you will be in future, please, there is one beauty that you will be very happy to notice. The streets of Paris have trees on two sides, but they have trained these trees of each street in one special design. In one street you will find, suppose this is the stem, the trunk of the tree, some branches are going up and one branch is standing like this. When you are at the beginning of the street, you think there is a row of soldiers saluting people. Or another street, 4 branches going up. They train them from the time when they are nascent. And fresh, therefore they can do that. But when the branch becomes dry, it's impossible to twist it in any way. After 15, Abdu'l Bahá says, education will be very difficult and in many cases absolutely impossible. Then we come again to the subject of hitting. Abdu'l Bahá says, you should not use hitting even for animals. He says, learn this from the Arabs. When the Arabs train horses, no matter how wild the horse is, they never beat the horse. I have seen it myself when I was in Arabia. A man was standing always every day in the middle of a field. And this was a road for me to go to the company where I used to teach Arabic. For about more than 4 months, I saw this man standing in the middle, having a long rope in his hand, and a wild horse running around this field where he was. One day I saw him. I said, what do you do with this horse? He said, this horse is wild now. He's not accustomed with me. He must get accustomed with my smell. And I tell you, it's very difficult to get accustomed to their smell. And the horse had every right and every reason to run away. But believe me, this is true. But he said, every day I lessen the length of the rope this much. Every day I lessen the length of the rope this much. And it comes gradually near me, and then I can train the horse in any way I like. For running horses, for carrying carriages or whatever. And I said, do you use a stick? He said, never. Exactly the word of Abdu'l Bahá was repeated by this man. He says, I beat him once, then I can never train. Then Abdu'l Bahá asked the parents, is the child of man less than an animal? Why should it be beaten? It must be revered. It's a treasure house of God given to us. That which is worse to beating, Abdu'l Bahá says, is tongue lashing. To use accursed words, to use cursing to the children, or belittling the children, or comparing the child to another child. You see, the other one knows multiplication tablet, you still don't know it. The other one has read 10 books, you have not read even one. Why? Because we expect that all the children should be like each other. Abdu'l Bahá says, no. Go through the stores of the whole world, he says, and find wheat, the grains of wheat. You can never find 2 grains resembling each other. Even grains of wheat are not resembling each other, are not similar to each other. Why should we expect that our children should all be as if there is a machine giving them out in the same size, the same capacity, and so on? It's impossible. Therefore, try to find an independent way by which you can build your own child. Never compare with others, and never let others compare their children with yours. Because sometimes the mothers or fathers have an attitude of flattering their own children. Oh, doesn't your child walk yet? My child is running, and in a month he will play football, which is wrong. Belittles the other children. Never let this. And because of these words, never press and force the child to walk. I have seen all these things. I saw in a meeting somewhere, a child said salam. It's an Arabic word for greeting. And the other mother was beating her child, say salam. I said, please don't do that. The time will come when he will say salam also, but it has his own time. We must have pity, respect, and love for our children and never abuse them in our own life. He says by beating them and by tongue lashing, we will destroy the character of the children, and the results would be detrimental to the family. We have many more things to discuss. Of course, we will continue. But I would like to give some of the promises of Abdu'l Bahá for the future generation. If we do not educate our children in this proper way, these promises will never be fulfilled. He says, ere long, you will see that the Baha'is will be the top people in all sciences and technology and knowledge. They will become, the Baha'is will become the center of the greatest discoveries. They will do unlimited inventions. One minute of these days is superior to all the ages gone. One drop of this great ocean of the utterings of Bahá'u'lláh is greater than all the waves of the ocean. One deed, one word, one movement in the path of this religion will find hundreds and thousands of results in near future. This is the very early days of our faith. We are at the twilight of the 1,000 years of Baha'u'lláh. We are in the very beginning, the very first minutes of the spring season of our faith. Whatever we plant today, it will grow into forests in near future. Therefore, we must do our best to plant properly, according to the prescription given to us by the owner of the garden. One breath in the service of this faith today is greater than 100,000 worshipping of the people of the past. Because it's incomparable. The bounties of God are so great. By education, you will reach a stage of being that you will feel you are in the exalted paradise of God. And you are watching the kingdom of God as you are walking on the earth. I said yesterday, education should go towards this aim, that when a man who is well educated under the system of Baha'u'lláh stands on a piece of soil, the atoms of the earth will be vibrated by the presence of that individual. And the atoms of that piece of soil will witness to the greatness of the education of this man. His being there will create a certain magnetic power in all the atoms of the soil. Because of that, all that is hidden in man will be discovered, will be poured out. All that we say, Bahá'u'lláh and Abdu'l Bahá said, all that we say is resume is this word. He says, look at a candle. You know there is light in this candle. But what does it need? It needs somebody to ignite it. Igniting is education given to the children properly, and then the light will come up. I have created every child in the most perfect way, because that is the witness of my art. Man is the greatest talisman. Of course, we must always have in mind that the whole creation of man, of universe, is not like the working of a factory. For instance, a factory will create such glasses, will give millions of these, just the same size, the same color. Creation of God in man is not like this. There are people who will never get themselves ready to go under the proper education of God. They'll deprive themselves of this great bounty. Therefore, it is our function to bring as many children as possible under the canopy of the protection of Baha'u'lláh and give them the proper food and drink, physically and spiritually. There are many other items that we will discuss again and again as long as we are here together. But by your questions, I will know which parts to be emphasized. If you have any question, you are most welcome to ask me. Please. At what age? At what age do they bring them to you? I don't know anything about this. You know, I just give you the prescription given by Abdu'l Bahá. He says at 5. And how do we know the result is good? Because they are quiet somewhere, the house is quiet, there is nobody to play in the house. No, the results of these things will be shown in the next generation. That's why we never advise the friends to follow the recent movement anywhere. Some of the friends are like the grasses. They follow any wind coming in any direction. Suddenly somebody says there is a new way of prayer. We will sit together hand in hand and repeat the tablet of Ahmad 10 times, and then we will feel something. Is this written in the writings of Baha'u'lláh? Sit down, hold hands, and repeat tablet of Ahmad 10 times? No. He says repeat the tablet of Ahmad. Read it once, but with absolute sincerity, which is very difficult, sometimes impossible. The moment you start, he is God, the King, the Lord, your mind is in the market to buy something. Yes. It's an exercise for the concentration. We'll come to it. Yes, please. Oh. Yes. No, you see, the only thing I know is the same words that I said, and I'll repeat. We must not beat the children, and we must not rebuke them in harsh words. We must do something if they do wrong to be awakened to that situation. And of course, first time, second time, 100th time, they will not be awakened. Be patient with the children. The time will come when they will understand this is wrong and they will never do it. They will understand themselves what are the things which are wrong. We must have lots of patience with them. Yes, please. Yes. Yes. Well, let's start anew. Yeah. Well, try with the faith in Baha'u'lláh, and he will confirm you to do away with the wrong results of the past training. Yes, sure. Because the Word of God has the power of transformation. Yes, please. No. He says any talent that the child has should be given all support to be manifested. Skills, inventions, discoveries, philosophy, poetry. Every one of these things is admirable. And if a child is, for example, born to be a poet, the father and mother should not tell him or her, this will not bring you any money. You know, we must encourage her to do more about it. If he's born to be a poet. You see, Varga was only 10 years old when he visited Baha'u'lláh. Because he was born to be a poet. First of all, he was a prodigious child. Baha'u'lláh encouraged him to say poet. And you know that the father of Varga wrote or said openly to Baha'u'lláh, please accept me as a sacrifice for yourself and one of my 4 children for Abdu'l Bahá, your son. And he accepted. But Varga didn't know which son. Then Ruhullah, the little boy, the youngest one, 10-year-old, wrote a poem and sent to Baha'u'lláh and said, your poems will last as long as the writings of the exalted pen. Therefore the father understood that this is the chosen one. And that's why he traveled with him. And eventually they were killed. You see, somebody is born to be a great musician. Well, we must encourage. Not like the olden days. It was despised. If we if we control these flow of talents, they will turn out in other directions and harmful. Anything is all right. Yes, please. It's in one of his letters. You know, I tell you this when you ask reference. The tablets of Abdu'l Bahá and Baha'u'lláh have no date, and there are separate pieces of paper. They have not written books about this subject. And all these things that I say, they are gathered perhaps from 1,000 different places. I have been walking and promenading and traveling to different villages of Persia. And wherever I went, I asked them, please, if you have some original tablet, let me read them. And they brought me. At night, I used to read them and copy whatever was required under different index. And that's why we can't say, for instance, in that book or this, and the reference is one of the tablets of Abdu'l Bahá. Is time up? All right. We'll continue tonight. Yes, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock we'll continue this.